Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3592. Today's date is September 15, 2000, September 15, 2025. It's been almost like morning at 7:55 a.m. Alright, let's just jump directly to the question. Let's go. Okay, question is what's one thing do I do every day to stay positive? Okay, what exactly is this question? Okay, this question is actually associated with the um, personal growth and self-reflection. Okay, what's the one thing do I have to do to stay positive? First, I need to understand why this question asked. Okay, we are living in this world where like filled with lot of negativity. Okay, and that is true because kind of like that na ki since we are moving in the world where like social media and everything we actually seen lot of negative stuff. This is bad happened, this is bad happened, this is bad happened. Why we have a lot of negativity? We don't really have a negativity, but we love to know negativity. Okay, what exactly is this thing? Since the beginning of the life, okay, our brain are actually taught by danger. What do you mean by that? It means that na ki like a early period of life we are going to hunting. Okay, obviously at that period of time we probably kind of like a something went to hunt and became a kind of like a something victim. Okay, because danger is everywhere, wild animal and things and that. Okay, and we don't really have anything. We can't run like a cheetah, we can't fly like a bird, we don't really have kind of like a fur for protecting for cold environment, nothing really at all. So we are really vulnerable regarding about when other animal are trying to kill us or being kind of like a some dinner for them. So it is really essential that humans should supposed to protect themselves. Okay, and how do we supposed to protect that? Thank God we have a two hand that we could utilize to kind of like a something for lot of stuff. Okay, but still we don't really have strength. Okay, we are as compared to other animal, we have very less strength. So probably is this thing na ki we don't really have anything at all to kind of like when we try to protect ourselves at the beginning of the life. Okay, so we actually develop some sort of instinct. What is actually instinct? Instinct that ki whenever the danger is actually surrounding, we just our eyes and brains are kind of like a something just like a really rapidly movement and kind of like a things that what is actually kind of like a something where is the danger and how do I supposed to protect myself. You actually feels that ki have you ever experienced that ki when you are driving suddenly something happened and you are your entire body is actually shifted to kind of like a somebody try to protect yourself. Have you ever experienced this thing like a suddenly just like there is a one car it just kind of like a somebody pass through by inch away, you just kind of like a somebody just try to protect yourself by just moving your bike at just it. Yeah, have you ever feel that? This is what kind of like a something that our body or our mind is kind of like a try to prevent ourselves. Okay, and it can move really faster. Example, have you ever shocked by electric current? Not the way that you think it is, kind of like a something just normal. Okay, when you feel that shock, the way that you move your body from that conductor is so fast that you can't even imagine. Just like This is what is it. This is what kind of like a something that ki when there is a danger actually available, you actually feel it. You just kind of like a try to away. Okay, yeah. The movement is like really fast. Okay. Same thing happened with the when you touch any kind of like a something hot piece or hot cup or things like that. The way that you move your hand in so rapidly that just yeah, this is what kind of like a sort of instinct that we are kind of like a something created inside our mind to kind of like a protect our body to kind of like a feel danger around you. Okay, yeah. And this is the only reason that's why we are able to survive, because as I mentioned, we don't really have anything at all. We can't run, we can't fly, we don't really have fur, we don't really have a strength. We just very vulnerable regarding about surviving in wilderness. So that's why we have developed this instinct to kind of like a figure it out what kind of like a something danger that we have and how do we supposed to protect that. Okay, now we are living in this modern world where like we don't really have danger. Yeah, like basically there is no wild animal is actually trying to kill you, no. But this kind of like a still exist, this kind of like some instinct still exist, and it can still protect from danger around you. But there is no danger, so what kind of like a somebody protecting it, protecting from danger that will happen in the future. What I'm trying to tell you is this thing that the early stage of the life, our instinct are try to protect the danger which is actually around you at the moment. But right now our instinct is kind of like a something develop to kind of like a figure it out and try to kind of like a something protect our body or protect ourselves from danger that will gonna come or things like that. Okay, yeah. Or maybe kind of like a somebody is this thing when there is a kind of like a somebody danger thing happened, we just look at around you, look at like I'm belong to the India, and I'm trying to tell you the experience. By the way, every Indian actually experience this thing. Whenever accident happen, everyone is actually gather and everyone kind of like a look at them or things like that. No one will gonna help. There is probably one or two people might gonna help, but rest of the people are kind of like somebody just watching, nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. Why does they do that? If they are not kind of like providing any kind of like a help, then why does they kind of like only do that? Is because of that key they just look out the danger. Okay, yeah. That is what it is. That's why our body is always kind of like a something look out what kind of like a problem around you, what kind of like a something stuff that is actually bad. And since then our body, our mind are kind of like a somebody always find danger, negativity around you. And since then our marketing agencies are actually utilizing this emotion for their selling the product. Let me tell you one thing. Interstellar is one of the amazing movie. Like it was really great and really great. Like it was like a like basically if you are kind of like a science grad, or if you are associated with the science, or if you are not, this movie is really amazing. But after all those things, this movie, everyone like basically if you're gonna mention this thing to everyone, like do you feel that the Interstellar movie is really good, everyone will gonna say yeah, this is really good, really great and things and that. Then why not it perform in box office? Because it's a kind of like a something, this movie is actually celebrate the knowledge, celebrate the kind of like a something information and things like that. It's a good thing, right? And good thing never really viral, never really kind of like a something circulate that faster. Negativity sell, dude. Negativity sell. Like basically if I'm gonna say that ki there is a stuff happen in my life and things and that, probably 10 out of maybe 9 people will gonna kind of like a listen to me, because negativity sell, my brother. If I'm gonna say that our government is not actually doing this right and things and that, we actually kind of like something, look at that. Even if we don't really associate with anything at all, but we just look at that thing, and our mind is kind of like always consume such a information which is kind of like something negativity. And it's not actually happened by itself, like it's not actually kind of like something happened by your thing, it just happened by itself. You just automatically kind of like consume that particular information and things and that. Okay, yeah. And because of this thing, all the marketing agency or any kind of like a something media is actually utilize this thing. Open your like a news channel, they always mention that ki something wrong happened, earthquake happened, tsunami happened, some guy murdered some dude. This news is everywhere. Like you probably kind of like a something heard that ki some kind of like a news kind of like a selling something really good news. Probably maybe 100 out of 5%, 95% it's still something bad happened. And let me tell you one thing, bad is always happen, yeah. Like even if I make a kind of like a very peaceful world, still bad happen, because it's a part of humanity, dude. Okay, yeah. When we seek the negativity, we try to evoke that negativity too. Okay, yeah. Example, let's just say that ki, the government is not right, government is corrupted and things and that and stuff like that. So there are two way to kind of like do this thing. First is that do the protest. Yeah, let's just do a protest and things and that or things like that. Or go to the high court and kind of like a file the petition against the government, file the petition against the prime minister. Obviously, if you think that ki dude, how do I supposed to file the petition against the prime minister? It's not gonna possible. It's a fucking prime minister. It doesn't really happen anything at all. So obviously you choose to be protest, because protest is a kind of like a things that very easy. Also another thing is that ki protest is kind of like a things that ki you can kind of like a something like a destroy and things and start chaos and things like that. And most of people choose to be protest instead of file the petition against the prime minister. And by the way, every democratic country has that kind of like a somebody leverage, or that's kind of like a things that if the people didn't really like the services from the prime minister, they can file the petition against him. Obviously it depends on lot of corruption and things and that, but it might gonna impact at some certain level. Okay, yeah. But the protest is like sometime it works, sometime it not, and it is very chaos. Like basically when the protest happened, both the party lose something, not only the kind of like assembly prime minister or kind of like a government, but as also kind of like a public property. This public property is meant for public, not for other. If you are kind of like a burning any buses or vehicles or things or that, who is that for? Those are for us. So then everyone knows that okay, this is kind of like a wrong, but still people do this thing. Why? Is because of that they are kind of like a only feel the part of something, even if they don't really aware, or they even if they don't really care at all, they just feel like that they are part of something, and they are kind of like a thing that key we are doing revolutionize. What I'm trying to tell you, okay, our mind is actually set up in a such a way that we think that if we do some sort of movement means like that our body movement or things are that, we consider that we are progressing. Okay, if you not really understand, let me kind of like a give you. Okay, yeah. Let's just imagine a battlefield. Okay, yeah. Ancient battlefield. Okay, yeah. And the only one thing that you win the battlefield is that you defeat the another party, right? So every soldier is actually go and kind of like a fight and things and that. Now try to think about that soldier point of perspective. What does that soldier thinks? Soldier thinks that ki I need to fight this battle. for my country, for my people, for this and that. Okay, because if I don't, then probably the another party or another people will kind of like a destroy not only my country but my family, my everything and everything. So it is my job to protect my country, my family and everything. So I would do everything to kind of like do that thing. So I would gonna run and I would gonna kill those enemy. Okay, yeah. But they forget that ki another party is also thinking the same. Okay, yeah. Another party of the soldier, they are also thinking the same, that ki they also wanted to protect their country, their people, their family or things like that. So both the people are actually thinking about them, thinking about their family and stuff like that, and they have started killing each other. What's the point of that? Like basically, some people might gonna die, some people might not gonna die, and things and that. And what I'm trying to tell you, okay, yeah, is that key people are actually kind of like a emphasize on kind of like a only movement or kind of like a things, but instead of that, the the kind of like a only people who are kind of like a something like basically that problem can be solved by talk to each other. What kind of like a something talk to each other, figure it out the problem, and most of the problem is actually solved by the verbally. But let me tell you one thing, the impact of effort that you put is much more better than talking. Means like that ki, let's just say there is a two situation. One situation is that ki one party are going to the battlefield and win that particular war, and another situation is that ki do and two kings, okay, yeah, they are kind of like a sit in front of the desk and try to solve the issues and things like that. Okay, yeah. Now let me tell you one thing. There is a and B party. There is a and B king. Okay, yeah. So a king actually kind of like a simply figure it out the kind of like a middle ground and solve the issue on the table. Okay, yeah. And in the battlefield, a a kind of like a warrior is kind of like a simply win the battle and things like that. So who do you think that ki who will have kind of like a simply that ki um, um, who will gonna celebrate the victory? Who will gonna celebrate the victory? Obviously, the people who are kind of like us will die in battlefield, they will gonna celebrate the victory. Why? Because it's a battlefield. Okay, people die, some people win and things like that. But in the battlefield, we actually kind of like associate with that much. Okay, like give me example. Okay, yeah. Have you seen any kind of like a war movies? Okay, yeah. In any of the war movie, you actually kind of like a somebody seen any kind of like a war or any kind of like a somebody conflict. Probably most of the kind of like a filmmaker choose to be show a war because war is a kind of like a feels that key lot of movement, lot of blood, lot of things and stuff like that. When the two people actually talking and try to figure it out the solve and things like that, it just kind of like a mellow in front of battlefield, right? Like most of the people actually resonate with the battlefield, what is actually happened there, instead of kind of like a something just talking, right? So our mind is actually kind of like a something built in such a way that it kind of like a cater something negative or things like that. Okay, yeah. If I went anywhere, like basically if I kind of like spend time with my friend, most of my friends are actually try to bitching about the country, like my country is not really good, we have corruption, we have this, we have that. It doesn't really concern them. It doesn't really, like basically they are doing kind of like a job for at least like a 1 lakh rupees per month they are actually earning, but still they actually think that the government is not really good and things and that, and you actually experience this thing. Why? Because people are love to think about negativity, love to think, they just can't, they just yeah. And because of the people are love to think, the all the media is kind of like a cater that particular information in that way, and it kind of like a something just, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you, in the real world, we are not kind of like simply going to the war and doing the battlefield, because we have a lot of regulation and things like that. But still, in our mind, we always have kind of like a things that keep like like negativity and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, let's just say if I'm gonna say Pakistan, like basically from Indian point of perspective, people hate Pakistan in India. Hate, like regarding about, like basically, like do I hate Pakistan? Well, probably is this thing na ki it's not about hating particular country. It's kind of like simply the way that you make that country in that way. Okay, if you not really understand, let's take a China. Okay, yeah. Do you hate China? Most of people might gonna say yes, like the country of the China is not really good. They are kind of like doing really really bad and stuff like that. But the people in the China is really good, really great. They are really humble. They are really polite. They talk and things like that. Okay, yeah. Every people are kind of like a really good in its own way, but our mind is actually set up in a such a way that we think that ki those people are wrong. Okay, and this kind of like a thought process is actually comes not only from, it not only come from us, it come from the social media, internet, television and things like that. Everyone is actually cater that negativity and things like that, and somehow we love it. Okay, yeah. Look out, open your YouTube platform. There is a, like a basically in your feed 10 out of 8 or 7 video might be kind of like a talk about what's wrong in actually happening in your surrounding situation, or yeah, things like that. So because of we are like, is it wrong like basically thinking about this negativity and things like that? Is it wrong? How? Because of our negativity, is it wrong? Well, it's not wrong, but it's not right either too. Okay, let me give you understanding. If you are always think about there is nothing really wrong, like there is always wrong is actually happened, so it attach with your personality. Okay, example, let's just say that there is a one person who only already consume kind of like a something news which is negativity, and news is always selling the negativity. They are selling the like this is not good, this is not good, this is not good, this is not good. Have you ever feel that ki people who are kind of like consume so many news, they are really like really arrogant, really like they always speak negative, always speak like have you ever kind of like a feel any kind of like a affirmation from their words? Nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. They can criticize government, people and things and that. They always do that. And as compared to the affirmation is like positivity. They didn't really say that. Like let me tell you one thing. Okay, yeah. Um, have you ever feel that ki your father is actually said something to you really good, like shabas, or you I'm really proud, or kind of like a something I'm believing you, or things like that? Have you ever father or any kind of like a people who says that thing? No. Why? Because let me tell you one thing, our mind in kind of like a something built in a such a way that we criticize people so easily. But when there is a chance is actually available that we should supposed to be say really good stuff to them, like I love you, or I'm proud of you, I'm believing you, or like I trust you, or I just, very less people could do that. You also actually experience this thing too. Very less people would kind of like a simply say I'm gonna sorry or things like that, because these are kind of like a affirmation word. As we kind of like a consume more and more negativity, we actually reduce the less and less the positivity that we have, and that is wrong because it change our personality, it change our thought process, it change us, and that is wrong because the impact that you seeing is very less. But when that impact get compound every single time, then we will become very horrible person. um in my relatives there is a, like, I'm not gonna mention the name, but in my relatives there is a person who is like the way that that particular person is actually, like, I don't know, yeah, like there are a lot of people, like you actually seen those people around you, lot of people, lot of people. Like basically it's this thing, if you are married, okay, ask me honestly, if you are married, when did you last time you said I love you to your husband, to your wife, to your girlfriend, to, yeah, when did you say I love you? You probably never, never. If you are kind of like a recently married and things like that, then might be okay. But if you are kind of like a thinking that ki you are married after a 5 year, then probably you never really said I love you or things like that. It's very, very, very rare, very rare. So this is what it is. This is what kind of like assembly we are been through, infected by the all those negativity and things like that. When we kind of like said something positive towards someone else, let's just say I love you to your husband, to your wife, you not only add little bit spark inside of you, but it add a spark in others people. It's something feel good. It's something that, like, it felt nice. It felt, I don't know how do I supposed to explain. It's just good. Like basically it's this thing when someone gonna say I'm proud of you. You feel good. You feel something great. And that is what kind of like a something it is, kind of like a something positivity to it. It add something feel good. Okay, yeah. Just like think about that. Think about this thing, and consider yourself lucky in every possible way. Consider yourself that ki I'm really lucky that I could breathe, I could walk, because there is a lot of people they can't walk on two legs. I'm really lucky to have those parents that at the age of 32 I'm still living with them. I'm not earning any money, but they didn't really kick me out. I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky that I could pursue my YouTube, even if I'm getting a lot of criticism and things like that, but I'm actually doing it that. I'm lucky. I have this mobile phone so that I could record. I have this opportunity to share my thoughts. I'm really lucky. Consider yourself that ki you are kind of like somebody very lucky in every possible way or something like that. Sometimes it's just like that. There is a kind of like a particular word. Let me, what is exactly that word? It's a really good word. Affirmation? No, not really affirmation. Wait. It's a really, what exactly is this thing? It's a gratitude. Yeah, gratitude. This is the word that I'm trying to, like a gratitude means like that ki you are kind of like consider yourself a kind of like a something good for having that particular thing. The people around you, the whatever that you think it is, life is really good, just say thank you to them. Or if you do that thing, it just not only it add value, but you feel something that ki we are matter. Because most of the time criticize somebody is not really important or things like that. If I criticize government, does it change anything? Nah, nothing really at all. Government do the same thing and stuff like that. I'm not saying that the government is right. No, government is also really fucked up. And I also kind of like a thing that ki yes, people should supposed to be raise a voice and things and that, but always not. Not always. There is a kind of like a somebody we are living in this modern world. There is some sort of way that we could kind of like solve the problem without showing the criticism. We could, like, if the government is not right, We file the petition against them. Obviously, it might work, might not work, but it add little bit impact. It is that. Whatever. So, what is actually question? The question was that, okay, what's the one thing do I do every day to stay positive? I do this. I do this artifact. In the artifact, I talk about myself. I talk about what is actually my life. I talk about what is actually my goal and ambition and how do I supposed to achieve that. I I talk about myself to I talk to myself to kind of like simply understand myself, understand the life, understand how can I do to make my life as much as better as I could. And that's the only one thing that I do positive. I also kind of like a think about my life in bit more optimistic point of perspective. That ki, let's just do the effort and things will gonna go right. Like my reality is really fucked up, by the way. I'm 32. I'm living with my parents. I'm not really earning any money. I should supposed to be criticize myself a lot, but I accept I make a lot of mistake in my life, and I'm actually suffering that mistake right now. But it will not gonna kind of like a simply impact in my future because I am trying to make my future as bright as I could. So yeah. So what is exactly one thing that I do to stay positive? I'm doing this artifact and being optimistic. I think this is good. Alright, this is it, and thank you.